death, like we did here a few days ago. So I hope everybody is doing well. Today, we are going to be going over some of the newer products that Gladen Audio is bringing out for this year. But we're also going to do a little bit of review as to why everybody should know about this, why your dealer should know about Gladen and why they should sell it. So this is one of the things that we're going to talk about is these facts about how we sell this stuff. And, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is, those folks use a lot of the Moscone products, but they don't know that Gladen actually oversees all of their designs. And that's why all of the Moscone products, you see all the boxes, there's somewhere on there you see Moscone Gladen. And that's because, they are a basic partner with Moscone in every respect. All the Gladen product, the vast majority of the Gladen product, I should say, is manufactured and designed in Germany to the highest standards. And it is a complete lineup. When you're talking about speakers, you're, from entry level all the way up to the absolute best in aerospace. You're looking at a complete line in every respect. So if you're thinking about bringing the line in, or you are wanting to experience a little bit more about the line, you take a look at it, you'll see it has a very, very deep width and breadth and scope of products, from subwoofers to tweeters to mid-ranges to coaxials, you name it, they have it. A lot of these speakers that they're manufactured are of a 3 ohm impedance. The reason behind that is because I'm gonna say every amplifier out there will play 3 ohms versus the 4 ohms. And at 3 ohms, there's going to be a little bit more power that's be going to the speaker, so the efficiency of the speaker has been raised for maximum efficiency. Okay. When it comes to Barney, and I think everybody knows about Barney being the binaural measuring system. It's actually designed, engineered, and calibrated at the Gladen headquarters in Germany. And again, about all of the sound up harnesses. There are a numerous number of different types of harnesses available for a lot of different manufactured vehicles in Europe. BMW, Mercedes-Benz, I can go on. There are literally 10, more than you can possibly imagine that can actually work and integrate directly into amplifiers and into the system of the vehicle itself. Obviously, the performance to price ratio is huge with these speakers. And the big advantage is nobody around you is going to sell it. It is a fully protected line in every respect. Okay, so you're not going to get shopped on this like a lot of other different manufacturers out there are. Okay, so the lineup as it stands for 2025 it goes like this. Obviously, aerospace, this is the top of the line in every respect. This is the audiophile grade speaker system. You step down into the Pro Series. The Pro Series is based off of the aerospace lineup. You're going to find it is very loud, very dynamic, really an amazing sounding system, speaker systems in every respect. And then this is where you're going to find the new systems. This is where you're going to find the Zeta speakers, and then we're going to find the Sigma speakers. This is where they fit in this lineup. Then it goes to the RS series, the Alpha series, the Gen series, and then the One lines. And then we will be going into this to a little more depth today. Now, aerospace. This is a system that's been around for a while. These speaker systems have been around for a while. They are the epitome of the high end. When we're talking, the high end in the country, obviously we talk about, Focal, Beryllium, in profile. Well, this is in the same breath and sentence as that is. They are extremely revealing. They are an audiophile grade product in every respect. They are so revealing, in fact, that you have to be careful with the music you play on them, because if the music's not recorded very well, these speakers can make them sound bad. Okay. Technologically speaking, they are using some very, very different approaches in the way that it's manufactured. There's actually a 7-layer cone. It's called a C7 cone. It's multiple layers of dissimilar materials that are brought together that create a very, very rigid, very well damped, extremely lightweight speaker cone. That's the reason why they are what they are. If you look at the baskets in the background, you can see they look extremely different. When Mr. Henning Gladen designed these things, he was, I believe he would be the first person to actually use what is known as finite elementary analysis. As he was part of the aerospace industry before he got into this, he was the first person, I believe, to apply this to where all of the arms and the entire structure of the frame was designed to minimize any reflections that could come back and hit the back of the cone, which would cause any kind of a Doppler distortion. And he was the first one to do that. Again, I believe he was. If you listen to these Silk Dome tweeters, they are all hand-built, handcrafted in Germany, as is its entire aerospace line. They are two ways or three ways configurations. There's two 6.5-inch mid-bass drivers. One's a pure mid-bass, one's a mid-bass mid-range. There's a 3-inch mid-range. There's our two tweeters. There's a 20 millimeter and a 28 millimeter. And then there is the unbelievable 10-inch subwoofer. And a lot of people ask me all the time about why that subwoofer costs what it costs and what makes it that way. It is a pure SQ sub. This is not one of the subs that you're going to get and go play EDM and rap, on at, extreme loud levels. No, this is the sub that if you want to have something that reveals all the detail in sub bass, this is the subwoofer for you again. This is a very, very, very high-end product, and it is for the audiophiles in every respect. If you take a look at all the awards these systems have won over the year, Car and Hi-Fi, based in Europe, has said that this speakers ranks up there, maybe the best of all time. And that's a heck of a statement for as long as these have been manufactured. They've been over 10 years in manufacturing them. And as the saying goes, it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, you're not going to fix these things because they are really, really good. Now, if we step down a little bit in the performance level, and it's not much, this is where you come into the Pro Series. And the Pro Series, you notice that they're using the exact same frames, but they're not using neodymium magnets. This is where you will find they're using ferrite magnets. The cone material is a little different. It's a mineral coated paper cone, but you'll find that they're still all hand-built, handcrafted in Germany. The Silk Dome tweeters are very similar in design to what is in aerospace. You'll find that these drivers are extremely dynamic. They play extremely loud. An awful lot of your clientele is going to be really, really happy with these. I like to equate these, those of you familiar with Focal, these rival K2 Power as far as their dynamics and their output is concerned in every respect. You can build two ways, you can build three ways. As you can see right here, there's a 6.5-inch mid-bass, 3-inch mid-range, a 25 millimeter tweeter, and yes, there is a 10-inch subwoofer in the line. As you can see, they have won numerous awards. And when you take a look at what Car and Hi-Fi has said about it, they're a masterpiece in all senses. Its build quality is impressive, and also its sound, which should not fear the competition. Those of you who have a chance who have heard these, you'll understand it. If you've had a chance to listen to Sage Weir's cars, Sage has used these in some of his demo cars, and you know the dynamics that those things are capable of doing. It's very, very, very impressive. Now, when it comes to the new speakers, this is the first of the two we're going to talk about. This is Zeta. They are a higher end car speaker, no question about it in every respect. At this price point, I think it sets a new standard at loudspeaker technology. They have based this completely off of the aerospace line, and they are utilizing the latest in motor technology and in cone technology. It gives a seamless integration into any of the vehicles today. And the reason that this is important is because these speakers were designed specifically to work in an OEM location in every respect. Okay, this is the reason why you see they're using the absolute best in neodymium. Why? Because it allows it to work in a very small area. We don't have to worry about large ferrite magnets. It gives us a very compact design. The efficiency is extremely high. Almost all of these speakers are over 90 dB at 1 watt. And yet the fidelity is exceptional. And it is as good as it can get given what we're going to be using these speakers for. Now, I'm not saying you can't build A pillars with the 70 millimeter wideband we're going to go in. Absolutely, of course you can. But let's face it, how many of our dealers are actually going to build that? I mean, they're not. They're going to, the vast majority of them, everything's going to go in OEM locations. So that's the reason why this is so important, that they have built these speakers to work exceptionally well to audiophile requirements. And trust me, they do. This is something that you truly need to experience and get a chance to listen to these speakers. Now, the lineup is like this. There's two mid-bass drivers. There's a 6.5, and then there's an 8. They're using a brand new Nomex cone that is made with paper. It's extremely lightweight. It's very well damped, handles a lot of power. Obviously, they're using the latest in neodymium magnet technology. There is a 30 millimeter tweeter that goes with this. And the reason they have done that is because they can get the tweeter to play lower to mate with a 6.5 and an 8 better. And then there is a 2 3/4 inch wideband, which is pretty impressive. And when we get to that technology, we're going to go expand into that a little bit more. Now, first one we're going to talk about is the 8-inch mid-bass driver, the ZW200. This is a very, very unique 8-inch mid-bass driver. You take a look at it, you can see that the frame is completely different from a lot of things that we've all seen. You notice it is using a neodymium magnet structure. And yes, this is a very, very shallow mount driver. You are correct. Okay. This driver was specifically designed to do one thing, to perform at an audiophile grade level in an OEM location. I cannot stress this enough. This is using the absolute highest in quality materials that they could get their hands on. The cone material is basically a Nomex paper compound, what they call MPC. And what happens is when you combine them together, you get this extremely lightweight, extremely rigid cone. And when you do that, and it's very well damped using paper, obviously paper is a very good damping product to use in speaker cones, you're going to get an extreme reproduction of not only just bass response, but also upper frequencies in the mid-range is going to come through. High power handling and very detailed bass reproduction is there. It's 150 watts nominal with a 225 watt peak as far as power handling is concerned. One of the things that they have stressed is that even at maximum power input, close to 150 watts nominal, the distortion levels are very, very low. The cones don't flex and they retain their shape. And if they don't flex, then that means that the voice coil is not going to be rubbing everything and it's not going to be causing a lot of problems, and the chances of blowing the driver go down. So when we're talking about being able to play at that level, that means that music like metal, rap, EDM, they're going to be able to play this with extreme fidelity, and it's going to maintain its magnetic field. So guess what happens? The distortion levels will go down, and that means we're going to have higher longevity with the speakers. The 200s, they're designed for audiophiles. They literally are. And that's not to say that, not everybody's going to appreciate it. They will. But if these things were built for the pain in the butt audiophiles who demand the highest level of fidelity, then they're going to make anybody happy. And that's the realization. That's the reason they built these things the way that they did. You're going to notice that it has a very low free air resonance, which means that we can play it really low without having to worry about damaging the voice coil. They're 92 dB of 1 watt, and you can see the mounting depth. It's just a hair over 3 inches deep. Pretty doggone impressive technology. And for those of you who are going to be using these fully active, which you're probably going to, and you're going to be using a DSP, the recommended crossover points are, you can play it from 70 hertz all the way out to about 2100 hertz. And we do recommend a 24 dB per octave Butterworth alignment. Now, when it comes to the 6.5, okay, you take a look at it and you're going to notice the family resemblance. And you would be correct because it is using the exact same motor structure as the 8 is. Same voice coil is being utilized here. Okay. So if you take a look at this driver and we're using that large of a voice coil, I got somebody texting me right now. Hold on. Okay. These things right now, as it stands, you know, they are designed to be extremely, extremely loud. Okay. You can play them. The level of fidelity is going to be there, whether it's the 8 or it's the 6.5. You can jam on these things. That's the beauty of them. So this is kind of like the best of both worlds here. We're getting, you know, speakers that are extremely loud, extremely dynamic, but yet they reproduce with great precision, like piano notes and guitars. You can hear all of the resonances in the guitar bodies, things like that. You know, that's like me being in the pain in the butt audiophile that I am. That's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. You know, if you're listening to rap and hip hop and techno, then they're going to play extremely loud and remind you of being at the club. So we're getting the best of both worlds here is what we've got. And you can tell, I mean, at 1 watt is 92 dB. At 150 watts nominal, these things are going to play extremely loud. And you look at the mounting depth, it's less than the 8. It's 2.8 inches, and you can see it almost plays as low, and it plays a little bit higher than the 8, obviously because it's a 6.5. Okay. Now, this is the 70 millimeter full range wideband driver, the ZM70. Before I go into this, I want everybody understand something. I've had these ZM70s in my vehicle for the last about 10 and a half months. I've been listening to the prototypes. They were not changed very much at all from what I have. I've had them in my SUV as part of a two-way system that I have in my SUV, utilizing an aerospace mid-bass driver and using these full range. I can tell you that I am very happy with them. They drop in a factory location. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why they designed these things, so it would be really easy to use in a factory location. The level of fidelity is very, very high. Do I hear differences between this and aerospace? Yeah. Is it enough to warrant me changing them out? I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. They're still in my truck. They're still in my SUV. I have not changed them out. I do not have tweeters playing in the car. These drivers are ruler flat, firing straight up off the glass to 17,000 hertz. I have them crossed over at 350 hertz, and then the mid bass takes over. I am extremely happy with how these things sound. It really is something to listen to. And when you have very simple two-way like this, that makes the job of tuning the car so much easier, especially if you're using Barney. This becomes easy. You let that driver play full range. It plays all the way out to whatever frequency it'll play out to. You made it to the mid-bass driver. The last time I tuned the car with Barney, it literally I took 30 minutes tuning the car. It's truly an amazing, amazing system. Now, it's not just to be used as a wideband. You can use it as a mid-range. So you've got two speakers in one is what we have. We have a pure mid-range, or we can use it as a wideband, which means it plays all the way out beyond 17,000 hertz. So it's pretty impressive technology. And as a mid-range in a three-way, you can use it from basically 250 hertz all the way out to the 6,000 hertz range. Okay. So that's it's a great match with either the 8 or the 6, and you use the new Zeta ZT330 tweeter, which we'll get to in a minute, to complete a three-way. So, and again, if you're using it like I am, if you want to use it as a wideband, the cone and the motor, they've been designed to allow an on-axis response up to 17,000 hertz. I can tell you, reflecting off of the glass in my SUV, I'm getting 17,000 hertz out of them. Now, being 65, about to become 65, I can't hear out to 17,000 hertz. I can still hear out to about 15. Am I missing the tweeter? Not really. There are times that I think maybe I want the tweeter. Yeah, if I'm listening to some really, really critical music. But I can tell you for 95% of every single solitary person in the country, they're not going to miss the tweeters. It really is what they call precision reproduction of even the finest of details in any recording. They're not kidding. It really is that good. It's an amazing technological breakthrough as far as I'm concerned with what they've built. You know, because what they're using here, They are using they've got some vented voice coils they're using on this. They've also reduced the distortion and the limit compression of these things at high volumes because of those vented voice coils, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, I have 90 watts a channel going to them, which is at their limits. You know, it says 80 watts nominal, 120 watt peaks, and I've measured 115 dB full range in the car without playing the sub. That's just using this driver, the ZM70, and an Aerospace 6.5-inch mid bass, and my rear speakers. That's it. And the rear speakers in my car happen to be factory. So these things are extremely dynamic and extremely clean. Okay. So when you're talking about these speakers that gives you this type of precision, even at very low volumes, you know, the fast changes in the music, like piano notes, again, guitar notes, somebody playing trumpet, something like that. The detail in the music, in the reproduction comes through. Because let's face it, this is a speaker that's sitting on top of the dash that's playing from basically 350 hertz and out. That's a point source driver, and that means we don't have any phase shifts, we don't have any phase issues to worry about. And you hear every single solitary thing that comes out of that speaker. It's really, really something. And I'm very, very impressed with it. You notice it's only 1.5 inches deep. And again, you can see right here the crossover points. If you are going to go fully active with these, you're going to use a DSP. And so you can use a high pass as low as 300 hertz. And if you want to use it just as a pure mid-range and you're going to bring a tweeter in, you can play it all the way up to 6,000 hertz without a single solitary problem. And the fidelity on it will be extraordinary. Okay. Now, when it comes to the new tweeter, the ZT30, you'll notice right here, you'll see that it has a closed back on it. Being a 30 millimeter tweeter, it has a larger voice coil. That means it also has a back chamber on it. That means that this driver is going to have the ability to play fairly low. And by low, I mean like 2,000 hertz. And when you when you start looking at a tweeter that can play this low, that means that somebody's done their homework. They've done a lot of engineering on this driver. And it really and truly at this price point has set a new standard for a tweeter as far as high frequency drivers concerned. Because they base this off of the 28 millimeter aerospace tweeter. And if you've had a chance to listen to it, you know what I'm talking about. It's a tremendous sounding tweeter. It's very smooth, it's very clean, it's very articulate. It's really difficult to get it to break up. And this soft dome tweeter is the exact same thing. It has this type of resolution throughout that frequency response. When you're talking about the low free air resonance of the speaker, and those of you who remember the class that I gave a couple of weeks ago about why FS is important when we're designing crossover networks, it means that we can play this tweeter really low so that it'll work with either the 8 or the 6.5 on a fully active two-way system. You know, so when we're talking about a 6.5 that will start to beam at 2,500 hertz, or the 8 which will start to beam at 2,100 hertz, you've got to have the tweeter that will come in and take over there. We'll take a look. The speaker does that. It can take over at 2,000 hertz. So, and with a 60 watt voice coil, that's impressive. This is very, very impressive technology in every respect. So when we're talking about this line right here, we're talking about Zeta. You're talking about a line that has been designed around OEM factory locations that is going to perform at an audiophile grade level with extreme dynamics and extreme SPO. Now, we're not talking 140 dB SPO, but we're talking, you know, really, really loud systems. And this is going to appeal to an awful lot of people around the country, because that's something that everybody is looking for, something that, you know, gives you that level of fidelity with this level of output. And that's what that makes Zeta so really, really special. Now, when it comes to Sigma, which is going to be a drop down in fidelity, but it's not going to it doesn't give up an awful lot. It does give up some, but it doesn't give an awful lot up. They are basically, what they've done is they've taken a look at the way that people have always built stuff in the past, and they're going to give it the absolute best in the latest in speaker technology. Of course, this is still built in Germany, and the design was basically they wanted it to make it as easy as possible to work in any modern vehicle, no matter what it was. And this is because there is a very, very unique mounting system. They're flangeless for the most part. And you're going to be able to put these things anywhere you want, especially the SM50 full range wideband speaker. It is so small. It's like 2 inches in diameter. It's crazy. I've heard these in a couple of cars. And is it a 70 millimeter, in Zeta? No. But does it do a very, very good job? Yes, it does. It's probably 80% of the fidelity that you'll find with the Zeta 70 millimeter. Okay. Now, there's a system that's called the 165.2. There's two systems. There's one that's fully active with no passive network. And then there's the 165.2 that does come with a passive network. So be it active or passive, the performance at this price point is just outstanding. Every component of this has been carefully developed and built for maximum flexibility with either using the passive crossovers or going fully active with the DSP. Now, I will say this, if you're going to use the passive network system, okay, this is something that I think is a really good idea. The passives have the ability to be separated or snapped in two due to the circuit board. They've got perforations built into the circuit board. So if you want to take it out of the plastic housing and you want to be able to snap these things and separate them because you want to be able to have let's say the high pass for the tweeter and the low pass for the mid bass close to each respective speaker, you can do that. And this is also going to allow for bi-amping to take place. So if this is going to be the case, and the crossovers are going to be located in an area of the vehicle that is subject to water, for moisture, I think this is a really, really smart idea. They have added 4 heat shrink sleeves in the box that will allow the circuit boards to be encased in those heat shrink. Just going ahead and applying heat to and shrink them up. This in turn keeps the boards water resistant as possible. That's a fantastic idea, and I don't know why more people don't think about this. You sit there and go, duh, why didn't we think of this, The voice coils are fairly large for high power handling, and they are wound for a 3 ohm nominal impedance, which means instead of 4 ohms worth of power, we're going to get 3 ohms worth of power. So they're going to play a little louder than anything else. The baskets have been designed by finite elementary analysis as well. So basically they're minimizing the backwave reflections so that they don't reflect back upon the cone and cause any distortions. It keeps them extremely low. The Hexatech cones, this is a newer material. These cones are designed, they have they're using a petroleum-based product that has hexagonal shapes embedded into them. They're actually raised on the cone itself. And this design breaks up the standing waves coming off of the cone. It's a really cool design. And they take that material on the front part, and then they apply it to a paper-based material, which makes the back of the cone. So it's extremely neutral, and it's extremely well damped. And that's one of the reasons why they have the fidelity that they do. So with the 165.2 passive or active system, you get the SW165 mid basses. Obviously, you're going to get 2 of them, and you get the ST22 tweeters. And you notice that the efficiency of these speakers are almost identical. Gee, you would think that somebody engineered this. Maybe, it has the mid bass, very low free air resonance. You're going to be able to play these things from 80 hertz or 70 hertz and out. 92 dB at 1 watt. You notice that the tweeter's 91 dB at 1 watt. There we go. They're mated for each other. And even though these are not quote unquote shallow mount speakers, they're 2.6 inches deep for the mid bass driver. The tweeters are 1 inch. Again, you can take a look at the crossover networks and you can see how these are designed if you're going to go fully active with them. Now, if you're going to use the passive network, this is what it looks like. You'll notice that it has numerous different terminals for input and output. Okay. You can see that how the board is perforated and how you can take these things out of that plastic housing and you can separate them. I think this is a really, really good design. It's a very smart design. And there's also the ability to change the tweeter output levels in case, you find that it may be a little bit too aggressive or too harsh for you in every respect. Now, there is also a 5¼ inch passive system. 5¼ is basically, it's based off the 165.2. It's using the same materials, parameters, and designs. It's in the Sigma 165.2. The only thing that changes the high pass crossover recommendation is it's not going to play as low as the 6.5. Other than that, it's basically the exact same speaker. It uses the exact same motor. The mounting depth is basically the same efficiency. It just doesn't play as low. You notice the FS is 63 hertz. Okay. Now, when it comes to the SM50 wideband mid-range, I've had the speaker in my hand. You look at it and you think there's no way that the speaker can play fairly low, but it does. Obviously, these are different, this level of technology that they have brought out. I think it's really amazing because you look at what they did with the 70 millimeter, and now you're looking at what they've done with the SM50. It's amazing. You can put these things literally anywhere. I mean, almost anywhere in the car. And as a wideband cone design, it plays over 20,000 hertz. So yeah, they are giving a ventilated voice coil, a very low loss suspension, and just like they do in the SM70. And the details and the dynamic range are all there. It just doesn't play as low as the SM70. It's a different cone material. You notice the efficiency is a little bit lower because there's a little weight here. But notice 300 hertz is where you can cross this thing over at. That's amazing. This is a 2-inch driver. It is a 2-inch in diameter driver that plays that low, at a 24 dB per octave slope. It's amazing, and if you want to use it as a mid-range, hey, you can, because the tweeter with this is exceptional as well. So all the advantages that we talked about with the 70 millimeter in Zeta, it applies for this one as well. It works just about anywhere. Any place that you've got some manufacturer that's using, the middlers they use, as we all call them, this driver will work. You may have rear effect speakers, like in the Rams, in the top of the back of the cabin, above the glass, you've got those 2 drivers back up there that are used for effect speakers. This would be a great place for them to be used. If you are using, let's say, if you've got yourself a Yukon Ultimate series that's got all the effect speakers in the top of the car, in the headliner, these might be able to be replaced and used there. I mean, center channels, effect speakers, rear speakers. It's just use your imagination. How many places can we put these things and maintain a factory OEM location look, and nobody knows there's a high-end system in the car until they fire it up? That's going to be the beauty behind the use of these drivers. Okay. Now, coming down, you come into the RS line of speakers, and the RSs are extremely efficient. This is where you're going to find a lot of different components. You'll find an 8-inch, a 6.5-inch, a 5¼ a 4-inch. You find a 3-inch. There's a 38 millimeter tweeter, and there's a 25 millimeter tweeter. This is a very, very deep, very wide product category right here. This category right here, RS. Passive network, absolutely. They don't need a ton of power because they are extremely efficient. That's the beauty behind these things. I've got dealers that love these things. Once they get them in and they fire them up and they use them, they'll tell you that, dollar for dollar, they'll think it's some of the best speakers that they've ever used and installed. I have a couple of end users that I know here in Houston that actually have these things where I live. They have it. One of them's got them in his Tahoe, and he absolutely loves them. We put a Pico 4-channel amplifier. He's got a pair of the 6.5-inch components in the front and the rear. He's got a 2005, if I remember correctly, and it's all factory locations. And he absolutely loves his system, and it wasn't uber expensive. Now you also have these in a la carte. Okay, so you can use. Let me go back. Excuse me. So you've got the 8-inch woofer, the 3-inch mid-ranges, the 38 millimeter tweeters, and the 25 millimeter tweeters. These are available a la carte, so you can order them separately if you wish to do so. There's a great 3-way system sitting here with the 8, the 3-inch, and the 25 millimeter tweeter that will work fantastic. You could take the 8-inch woofer and you can make it with the 38 millimeter tweeter. They'll work extremely well together like that. This is something you guys need to be, we're reminding you of, because quite frankly, people forget about it, that you can do this. So it's on your price sheets, and take a long, hard look at it. That 3-inch mid-range is really, really, really good. At that price point, it's crazy good, as a matter of fact. So this is just an FYI for you guys to remember. Okay, now the Alpha series, this is a great all-around sounding systems. They're using a fiberglass cone, no mech spiders. You've got 2-ways or 3-way configurations. It's a system that would be an OEM drop-in replacement for an awful lot of cars utilizing the OEM amplifier, again, because of their efficiency. They work extremely well. Now, when it comes to the G series, these are those flangeless designs. This is where you're going to need to get some of the files from Orca, and you can build your own mounts for them, or we have the mounts for them, some of the mounts for them out there as well. You know, they are designed to work in the smallest OEM locations. Basically, this tweeter plays from 2,000 hertz and up. It's really something to hear this little bitty teeny tiny tweeter that plays this level. Really something. I think this is the star in this lineup right here. This thing is just amazing to listen to. Again, people ask me, you know, is it up there with the Pro Series of speakers? No, it's not. But can it do the job, and can it do the job extremely well? The answer to that is yes, it most certainly can. Now, with the one line, these are car-specific kits. Okay, this is where you can find your answers for the BMWs and your Mercedes. They are 3-way drop-in kits. You can see in the background, those are the bass drivers for the Mercedes kits. They have the bass drivers for the BMWs. Most of these kits are designed for a semi-active application, to where the bass drivers, like you see behind us, that would be a fully active application, to where you're going to be able to band pass for those drivers. And then you're going to use a mid-range tweeter combination, to where the mid-range will be high passed off the DSP or off the factory amplifier, and you're going to use a passive network for the tweeter. There are rear coaxials available. There are center channels available. There's a lot of different mounting ways and mounting systems, depending on which BMW you have and which Mercedes you have. Okay. Now, let me drink something here real quick. Now, I've had a lot of people inquire, especially when, you know, I'm doing technical support and we start talking about middlers or widebanders, and a lot of people really don't understand just exactly what a wideband speaker is. Well, there really isn't a specific definition of what a wideband speaker is, not in the audio world. However, for our purposes in car audio, I think it's fairly safe to say that the wideband is designed to cover several octaves of frequencies, basically from 150 hertz to 20,000 hertz. That covers an awful lot of the audio spectrum, and that's what a widebander is supposed to do. Now, as to why so many OEM manufacturers, being whether it's Bose or Harman or whoever the design house may be, why are they using these things? Well, if in an awful lot of OEM systems, these speakers are part of a 2-way active system or a 2-way passive system. If you take, for example, in a 2022 Dodge Ram 1500, in an awful lot of the systems, until you get up to their premium, you're going to find that 2 3/4 inch wideband speaker, it's used in a factory mounting location in the left hand and the right hand corners and top of the dash, firing straight up the windshield. And they're playing from basically 250 hertz to 15,000 hertz. They're mated to an OEM amp that probably has a little bit of DSP processing, and it's mated to a 6x9 mid bass in the door. So basically, that two-way will play from 55 hertz to 15,000 hertz. So the question then becomes, why would they design this and not build a tweeter into the system? Well, there's a couple of reasons, but the main one is they're saving a heck of a lot of money. Not having tweeters in the system cuts down on the cost dramatically. So if you stop and think, if you're going to design, when they started designing, let's say the system for the RAM 1500s, if you started thinking, we've got tweeters, we've got mid basses, we've got mid ranges for the premium systems, do we want to keep it down in the non-premium systems? And if they didn't have to design and build the tweeter, how much money would they save? I mean, stop and think. Just designing a speaker, I know from talking to Alan at Orca what it takes to design a tweeter. It takes time, and you're paying somebody to do that. And once you design it, then you got to pay for it to be built. So stop and think about that kind of money. So you have to design it, and then you have to build it, and you got to pay for that. So that's number one. Number two, if you don't use a tweeters or tweeters, you don't have to worry about additional amplification. So we don't have to pay for that part of the amplifier to be built and designed. And we don't have to use a design and build passive networks for them either. You know, coils and resistors, that's money. Yeah, they're tiny, and yeah, but still that's money. And when we're talking about, do you have to run wire? It's the expense of copper wire to run throughout the entire system. That expense adds up. And for instance, if you take, let's just say a Ram truck, and last year Ram sold 223,000, a little over 223,000 Ram trucks, 1500s in the United States last year. So if they don't have the tweeters, they don't have the designs, they don't have the amplifiers, they don't have the car, how much money did Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram save by not having to build all those parts or buy all those parts? And think about everything else they would build tweeters in if they needed to, such as all the Jeeps, you know, the rest of the Ram, the 2500s or 3500s. I mean, I could go on, the Challengers, the Chargers. Yeah, think about it. That's hundreds of thousands of parts not being purchased to begin with. So what they're doing, they're saving a ton of money. Oh, and so why do we want to use the Gladen widebanders in the system? Well, my personal opinion and about this is our job has always been to build things that sound better in whatever vehicle we're given to work on. And most of the time, I think 9 times out of 10, this involves replacing the factory speakers in factory locations. And it's been like this for years, and that's not going to change. An awful lot of people don't want to see anything in their car except the factory look. And I don't blame them. People like to steal things, unfortunately. So this technology, using the widebanders, this allows not only for us to keep things OEM, and it makes our life easier because we don't have to custom build anything, but it also, this increases the sound quality substantially if we use the wideband speakers. So the goal of the system design, as we start designing things out, is we want to increase the overall sound quality of the system. But also remember, we want to exceed our clients' expectations. I don't want to meet them. No, I want to exceed them. I want to blow our client away. That when they get in the car and they listen to the system, they're like, holy, you know what, listen to this. So with 90% of the systems replacing speakers in the factory locations, having access to this level of technology allows that to take place. It's very, very simple, and it's very easy. Because when we utilize these speakers from Gladen, this allows the installer the ability to create an amazing sound stage, you know, because it's going to be eye level. And that means basically from 300 hertz to 5,000 hertz, or even out, you know, using the wide bands, we're going to get something that is close to like listening to systems and high-end home audio. You know, we're talking depth, width, height, three-dimensionality, imaging and staging. And if the client's never been exposed to that, and, you know, we use Barney and tune the car, and you explain to them what's going on, and they listen to this, they're going to be blown away. And that's what this is all about. by utilizing these wideband speakers, it's just going to ensure that we do get precise imaging. Because I can tell you right now, sitting in my SUV with the speakers that I have, and I'm using the Zeta 70 millimeters on the left-hand side and the right-hand side in the factory locations. Hey, I have precise imaging. My left of center, center, right of center, and right is precise. I mean, it is so precise, you literally can stare at instruments out on the hood of the car. And that is also very important because depth of sound stage is going to give the impression to the client that, we're there. This is live. And isn't that what this is all about? Aren't we trying to recreate live music in the car for these folks? That's what this is all about. And especially when you use Barney, having the system tuned so they're seamlessly integrated with, whether it's Zeta or it's Sigma mid-bass drivers, this is going to be easy to achieve. I'm not kidding when I tell you, it took me literally probably 35 minutes the last time I tuned my car utilizing the widebanders. It's easy. It is falling off a log backwards easy when you've got Barney to get the car to sound at this level. And then we've done what we wanted to do in the first place, which means we are exceeding our clients' expectations. So remember that an awful lot of the vehicles on the road today, they've got center channels, they've got rear channels, and they've got effects channels, okay? The OEM audio engineers know that having all of these speakers, they've got to all be timbre matched, or they all need to sound the same, because if they don't sound the same and they fire the system up, then it's not homogeneous, it doesn't sound complete, and it sounds like we've got a mess in our hands. So if the goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, which it should be, that I want to replace as many of these speakers in the OEM factory locations as possible, because it's going to keep timbre matching. But it also means that we're going to make a heck of a lot of money, and we're going to make the clients happier, right? Because when we use these wide bands in the locations, obviously it's a logical choice, especially when we're talking about the 50 millimeters, the 2-inch drivers. They'll fit just about anywhere. I mean, stop and think about it, especially when you're talking about, let's say, the Yukon Ultimate Denali. There's 23 speakers in that car. And a lot of those speakers can be replaced with this 2-inch driver that we're talking about, with the SM50, 50 millimeter driver. Stop and think about that. Now, we're talking about all these multi-channel audio systems, and we want to use them. Obviously, the center channel will almost certainly be the exact same speaker used in the rest of the system's front stage as far as the OEM is concerned. And again, in my vehicle, I did the exact same thing. All 3 of the middlers on top of the dash of my car with the exact same speaker from Bose. And I replaced all of them with the 70 millimeter Zetas. It's easy. It's falling off a log backwards simple to make it work. That's an easy progression. That's an easy sale. Obviously, if you've got the center channel, we don't want to replace it. If they've got rear speakers or effect speakers, they are almost certainly going to be the same type of speaker or very similar in sound to the front. And we want to keep that timbre matching. So if you're using a wideband up front and you're using a 6.5 or 8 in the door, you're using a wideband center channel, I'm willing to bet you they're going to have either a 6.5-inch two-way, or they may have a 6.5 and a widebander. So we keep the same thing. So we use maybe, the 30 millimeter tweeter if it's a Zeta, and a 6.5 and the Zeta in the door. Progression. Make sure we do that. Have effect speakers in the top of the car, like a lot of cars are beginning to do. This is where we start looking at maybe the 50 millimeters and we start using them to replace, or the 70 millimeters. This is basically about maximum profit margin. Because if we sell multiple Gladen widebands using multiple Gladen mid-bass drivers, which in turn means multiple amplification power, a lot of amplification power has to be sold. And of course, we're going to have a DSP to be able to interface and tune the system. And of course, if we do all this, we have to add sound treatment, and we got a ton of labor. All of this means we have created maximum profitability and keeping it all OEM stock and we have exceeded our clients' expectations as far as the fidelity is concerned. That's a win-win in my book.